Hello, my lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind. And today I would like to give you my thoughts on the new movie, The Invisible Man. So, The Invisible Man was directed by Leigh Whannell and stars Elizabeth Moss as Cecilia. Now, the movie is Cecilia is escaping from an abusive relationship. So, escaping from her boyfriend Adrian, played by Oliver Jackson Cohen, with the help of her sister Emily, played by Harriet Dyer, and a cop friend of theirs called James, played by Aldous Hodge. So, she goes to live with James. She manages to escape this relationship she is in. But it's been going on for some time, and she's still very, very nervous about leaving the house. She has real trouble dealing with the fact that Adrian might still be out there. And then she gets the news that Adrian is dead. He's killed himself. So she starts to relax a little bit. Her nightmare is over. But then things start to go wrong, and she becomes convinced that Adrian has somehow not dead, and that also he has become invisible. Okay, and she has to try and convince the people around her that she's not crazy, this is actually happening, and that he's now stalking her and invading her life. So that's the premise as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to give you any more plot because it is a fantastic film. It is explained in the trailer whether or not this is all in her mind or there is indeed an invisible man. There is indeed an invisible man. Like I say, this happens early on in the movie, so I'm not spoiling anything, but from that point on I'm not going to give anything else away. So Leigh Whannell has previously directed a film called Upgrade, which I love. It's a fantastic little film if you get a chance to see it. Very well done. And he's teamed up here with Blumhouse to bring the new version of The Invisible Man. So The Invisible Man is a classic Universal monster. It's one of the OG monsters in cinema. It's been around. There's been loads of iterations of it. The most recent one I can think of in the cinema in a big budget way was Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon, but that's going back a lot of years now. So this is the first time I've seen it on a big screen in some time. And this is a really good movie. It's a really good movie. All the characters are great. The plot is fantastic because of what Cecilia's gone through. When she becomes convinced that there is this presence, she has to try and obviously convince other people of the same thing. Now, the Invisible Man, I'll just refer to him as the Invisible Man. He's clever in the sense that he only ever sort of creates mischief when she's there. And it starts very small, it's very subtle, and it's things that you could easily put off to coincidence or, just something. An accident, an act of God. But then it starts to build. Now initially Cecilia she's just more, could it be in her own head? But then as it becomes more and more obvious to her that it is not, she then has to convince the people around her. And obviously that is very difficult because they cannot see, they are not around when these things happen, and they're aware of what she's been through. But it's never done in a cliche way. They're never like, oh, you're just crazy, you're imagining it all. They really believe that she believes it because they love her. They're friends, or it's a sister and a very good friend of the family. So they're more concerned about her well-being. They never say that she's nuts or she's crazy. They believe that she believes it, and they want to help her emotionally, kind of thing. It is easy in these kind of movies to write peripheral characters dumb, because how many times have you seen a film and it's like somebody's presenting you with some evidence and you're like, nah, and it's just like, no, you wouldn't react like that. In this, that's not done. It is written smart. It is acted brilliantly. So you actually kind of get their perspective when they have doubts about what she's saying. You go along with it, even though you've seen it yourself. You were with Cecilia when these things happened. You kind of look at the peripheral characters and go, well, they didn't see that. So what she's saying, and they know what she's been through, they would have doubt in their mind. So it is set up really, really well in that sense. The camera work really sells this movie because very early on, what Whannell does, it's a little trick he does. And it is so effective. So at the beginning, before she manages to leave Adrian, we see her trying to sneak out of the house. And the camera's on her, and then it just drifts off. It drifts away. She no longer becomes the focus, and it just focuses on like a dark corridor. And there's nothing there, and we can hear what she's doing. And it's almost like the audience becomes the camera. We're keeping watch for her. And then this comes back later in the movie. So she'll be doing something, sometimes she'll be doing something important. to maybe find out some clues or figure out what's going on. Other times she'll just be doing something mundane, something mundane in the house, like folding clothes. And the camera will just drift away to a corner of a room. And as an audience, and in a cheaper horror film, you would expect to see something, you'd expect something move, or a twitch, or something, some indication that something there. You don't get that. So you don't know if there is something in this corner, if there's something in that chair, if there's something in that doorway, or if there's not. Just like Cecilia doesn't know. So you don't have that certainty, just like she doesn't. And it's so effective. Another thing Winnell does is the score is very minimal. It's kind of this industrial soundtrack, but it's never overused. So in these moments when Cecilia is maybe walking around the house because she's convinced that something's there, but she's not sure, the sound just drops, and it's just a nice level of atmosphere where it's like, it's nice and you can hear a pin drop. And so he never feels the need to kind of fill the space with something. He just lets the scene breathe. And it's to the movie's credit, and it's to his credit, it's to everyone involved's credit. This movie was made on a very small budget, and sometimes in smaller budget films you get, being delicate, you get less than stellar performers and a less than stellar script. In this, the script is tight and the actors nail it. Cecilia has to portray so much because she's been through all this. We don't know everything that she's gone through, but from conversations she has, you get the impression she's had a really, really hard time. And just when she thinks she's free of it, she's now thrown back into it in a completely different way. And she has to portray all that, and she has to portray the doubt she feels. And then when she's become certain that she's now, what these things she's experiencing are real, she has to try and convince those around her. And again, their reaction is always a realistic reaction. It's always, we feel for you, we care about you, but, is it possible that this is, because she's trying to convince somebody that there is essentially her dead partner, ex-partner, has now come back from the dead and is now invisible. And again, it sounds fantastical, but they set it up because Adrian, her ex-partner, has his business. We don't know what it is exactly, but his laboratory in the basement of his house, as Cecilia passes through it, and we understand that he's very good at optical technology. And they approach the Invisible Man in this particular iteration of the movie as from a technology standpoint as opposed to science. I know the older films, it tended to be a science experiment gone wrong or something. In this, it's much more technology based. And knowing that about him, in Cecilia's mind, it's not a massive leap that he could actually create something like this. So again, it's not as fantastical as it might sound. So she's not trying to convince them of something which is incredibly outlandish. It's doubtful. It is a reach, but it's not enough of a reach that they just go, clearly you're nuts. So it's measured. Everything about it is measured. The score is measured. It's very efficient. It uses sound when it needs it to. It uses atmosphere when it needs to. Some people have been saying this is kind of a horror film. It's not. It's just got a general level of creepiness and atmosphere to it. And scenes are allowed to just kind of breathe and settle. There's no fast editing, and there's not a lot of jump scares in it, like, the cheap jump scares. If they're earned, brilliant. And there is a couple in here, but they do feel earned. They don't feel like they're just put there just to make the audience, jump and spill the popcorn. They feel like they're there because they serve a purpose. So yeah, overall, highly recommend this movie. Did really enjoy it. All the performances are great. The way it looks, the way it sounds, just fantastic movie. Far better than its budget would indicate. It's just an exceptional film. I do really like this film. Yeah, go out and see it if you get a chance. So, as always, guys, like what you like, love what you love. These were my thoughts. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. And that's what's so beautiful about the movies. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. And until next time, bye for now.